world. That background picture that you see there is Haw River State Park in northern Guilford County, southern Rockingham County. It's a beautiful, placid little lake view there.
Who's that hot babe up in the corner?
Oh, shit.
I know who it is.
That's a picture of my mom when she was young. No, just...
We have to play the Mark Meadows clip from Fox and Friends this morning.
Oh, I haven't heard this.
It's the worst. It's what's so horrendously terrible about it is absolutely everything, every new talking point and lie, wrapped up into one.
The seamless ball of shit.
Yeah.
All right, we can go with that picture in the background, or the beautiful fountains of the Bellagio, if you like the fountains of the Bellagio, or this bucolic picture of the waterfront at Beaufort, North Carolina.
You pick it. I don't care.
Oh, I'm gonna go with the naturescape there. It's a very placid kind of situation there. Beautiful North Carolina at the Haw River State Park, which has a fantastic walking trail. When it's warm enough, you should go up there. It's like a 5K walking trail. And many times I've done it 3 times, so I get 10 miles. I need to get back up there and get off my ass and actually do something. Got a little fluffy over the holidays there, Brad. A little fluffy with the snacks and such. It's tough. It's hard. Struggle is real, pal. All right, I'm ready if you are.
I'm looking to see here. Let's see. I think we're good. Come on, man. Oh, there we go. All right. That's it. Okay. In didness. All right. Okay. Get the volume up here, and it'll be. It should sound. I think this is a pretty good audio sound bite.
Hopefully when he dies that particular phrase won't live on.
I'm sure Brent Vegetable on WBT probably is.
Brent Vegetable. I see what you did there.
Whatever the fuck his name is. All right. It's the Brad and what?
Go ahead.
Take 3. It's the Brad and Britt cast, our third one for this week, and we are glad you're with us here. We're live in the 1:30 Eastern hour, 1:30 to a bit past 2. However much we decide to go past 2 when we're live. When we do this later on, there are no watches. There are no clocks. It's like being in a casino. There are no clocks.
It's like baseball. There are no clocks in baseball.
It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. All right. Let's start out here with a clip. And this is former North Carolina congressman.
Yeah.
And how fondly we remember his days as a North Carolina congressman, Mark Meadows.
Representing the district that I grew up in.
Yeah.
So happy, so proud. We used to have some people in that district that were actually decent. James McClure Clark, back during the 1980s, Brad. I'm sure you remember Jamie Clark and him representing Western North Carolina, a graduate of Princeton, quite the studied man of letters. And now we have Mark Meadows, who was just a douchebag.
I know what a Clark bar is.
That's exactly right.
All right, so he has nothing to do right now. Meadows, he's unemployable basically.
He's chilling.
Right. He might pick up a gig like Mike Pompeo did. I saw Mike Pompeo does first thing post. He's going to be a fellow. A fine fellow at the Hudson Institute, or whatever one of those.
He's not going to be on the board of MyPillow.com.
Well, that's different. By the way, I want to tell the MyPillow story again.
Yeah.
The famous QVC MyPillow story in a few minutes. Okay,
that's fine.
I think it's worth bringing back because I haven't told it for many months, and it has a lot more relevance right now. So here is Mark Meadows. Wednesday morning with the Fox and Friends gang, essentially putting it all together for what you hear from everybody who's a Republican on the excuse collaboration team, still with Trump after all this time and after what happened 3 weeks ago. Mark Meadows.
Ainsley, you said it exactly right. Is the speech that was given on Inauguration Day on the 20th just rhetoric? Well, I guess so. I mean, we're seeing that their first legislative priority in Congress is impeachment. I don't know how that unifies America. We need to be about creating jobs and making sure we put people back to work.
Hey, Mark, in retrospect, was that rally on January 5th or 6th, was that a good idea?
It's now a rally. Well, catch the language that's being used.
Here's Kilmeade he's gingerly approaching, giving him a chance. He's giving the guy a chance here.
It was a rally, like what you had it in high school the night before the big game with the team across town. It was a pep rally.
We're taking on the crosstown rivals.
There you go.
When we start looking at the rally, Brian, we're focused more on that than we are really about what we need to be focused on today. I mean, when we start to look at America, it needs to be about what is important to people on Main Street. And that's what the president did. He put America first. As we start to look at that, as we're going forward, hopefully we'll get beyond this. I mean, there was a vote yesterday in the Senate that suggested that 45 senators said that it was unconstitutional. Let's get on and be focused on what's important to the American people.
All right. Well, there it is. That's everything, isn't it?
Wasn't that a job creating rally that the president had on January the 6th? Wasn't he?
Right.
I think he created at least 1 or 2 openings at the Capitol Police Department. So
I think you're mixing that up. He wasn't trying to say that. Remember, he was
jobs.
Hang on. He was saying that whatever happened, that rally has nothing to do with the job in front of us, because looking back is so unproductive. That was just a rally.
Not right,
what he was really saying was the American people, which you always know that there's a problem when someone says the American people think this, they want this. Nobody really cares about what happened 3 weeks ago. And the Democrats, all they want to do for legislation move number 1 is impeach Donald Trump, and they don't get it. People have moved on from that. So
look how quickly they got over Hunter Biden's laptop. I mean, they were just done with that thing.
Look at how fast they got over the Civil War.
And Benghazi. I mean, they barely right after Benghazi, they just kind of left that behind.
Right. And I don't even want to play the what about game. We don't have to play the what about game with this, Britt. This is the worst of the worst. This is the horror of Republican politics right now. Mm-hmm. You have essentially said what Donald Trump did, inciting a riot, and that's what he did, and inciting an insurrection against the government of the United States. You could call that treason. You could call that sedition. Pick your name, pick your word. It doesn't matter because most people, they can't even remember 3 weeks ago.
Sure.
It didn't even occur to them to think about that because they're worried about putting gas in the car and food on the table.
They're much more worried about which appetizer they're going to have for their Super Bowl party than they were about what happened on January the 6th. They want to know if to go with the bean dip or should they go with guacamole. I mean, what is the hot thing this year?
Right. So, Meadows really, there is a new Airbnb in hell that has already been reserved for him to spend some permanent time with. But you'll notice the transition there where he decided to throw in to justify the fact that this is just specious horseshit by the Democrats,
right,
plus the 5 moron Republican senators who joined with them on Tuesday, plus the 10 moron Republican congressmen who voted a couple of weeks ago for the article of impeachment, to try to tell you that because 45 senators said this is unconstitutional. Well, again, I hadn't thought of that. You know what? They said that, so of course there should be no impeachment hearing over.
But remember the game. You got to remember the game that's being played here. The game that's being played here is, okay, when he was still in office, he's only got a few days left. Don't impeach him. It's stupid. We can't get it all the way through. Don't do it. And now that it's over, why are you guys impeaching him? He's out of office. I mean, that's the game that they played with this thing. It's just like the game on election day is, oh my God, all of these ballots came in at 3:00 in the morning and they tilted the results. Well, you motherfuckers said they couldn't count the mail-in shit until the night of the election. Right. That was your rule in these places like Michigan and Pennsylvania. You're the ones that made that rule. And everybody, they stole it. And then apparently there was a conference call on November the 3rd or like November the 4th, early that morning, where Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, and what's like another big swing state. They all got together and they said, we need this. We need
Nevada.
This many votes. Nevada. We need this many votes. Nevada, can you go 10,000? We need 15 in Arizona.
Wow.
Michigan, 12 should work for you. Wisconsin, can you swing maybe 20? And then PA, we need you to do like 15 or 16. What? And in Georgia, this is going to be the great one. We got to really work on Georgia. It's going to be like, I'm going to go with 11,779. Is there any way you guys could possibly swing that amount of votes? And we'll all get together and like at 4 a.m, we'll just go ahead and just dump those. That's what happened.
Well, do you have a transcript or a recording of that call? Because that sounds really interesting.
That's what happened. Apparently, that's the deal with what happened. So the story with Mark Meadows was, and he's, like you said, the guy's desperate right now because he's absolutely nuclear. There's no way he can get hired. He puts out this story, and it definitely comes from his people. They're thinking about putting him in the Trump organization. He's going to be like the CEO, like the head honcho of the Trump organization, because Donald Trump loves him so much. So much.
Did you see the stationery and the logo and everything has already been put out there for the office of the former president? He's got an official office
which doesn't exist.
The former president.
That's the greatest.
It's like when you get fired as the coach of the New York Giants. You get to still. It's not enough that people just call you coach. For that's kind of a term of endearment. But you don't walk around with a hat that says
coach,
former coach of the Giants. But I want to go back to the fearful 45. The fearful 45.
The fearful 45. I love them. I thought Deacon Jones was one of them, right? And then hang on, Rosie Greer.
That was the fearsome foursome.
Oh, sorry, I got it all wrong.
It was a fearsome foursome.
Merlin Olsen.
Right, Lamar Lundy.
Oh, that was it. That was the fearsome foursome.
Deacon Jones, Roosevelt Greer. Yeah. And by the way, since you got us off on this exit, can I make a quick pit stop on Super Bowl trivia, which is, again, you don't have to lie about things like, this would be the first time a team would win in their home stadium. Okay, because apparently, and I forgot about this, the 49ers played just a couple of years ago right down the road from where they play. So that wasn't as much of a quote unquote home game. So they why do you have to embellish
If they
And
wouldn't have had a bunch of,
there was another game too that was like that also. I can't remember what it
if
was.
they wouldn't have had a bunch of rain and mudslides in Southern California, the stadium in Los Angeles would have already been finished, and they could have had it there. So they had to go ahead and reschedule and put it in Tampa. There's a whole bunch of stuff there that they're going with.
Right,
So
but you don't have to.
You don't have to
that
lie.
That doesn't make it any more exciting.
All right, back to the douchey 45.
Right, the fearsome 45. So, this is Mitch McConnell. This is what he's all about. This is what we mentioned previously, that no matter what he has said, that he has intimated, there's no way he is not going to vote to convict Donald Trump at this moment. Now, I want to just put aside the fact that the case that is going to be put on against Trump publicly is going to be clearly so devastatingly overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And remember,
the video clips
right,
are going to be
some of the most effective evidence the last time, a year ago, was some of the video that they went to, some of the actual testimony.
That's right.
In addition to some great speechifying by Adam Schiff and people like that. Jamie Raskin is the new Adam Schiff, and he'll be just as good.
You're damn right he will.
But just think about this. Remember their excuse to acquit Trump. Well, it's all secondhand. There really wasn't any. All right, so
secondhand.
Right, so clearly now we don't have to worry about secondhand testimony, right? We don't have to worry. And not only do we not have to worry about secondhand testimony, I would call Mike Pence as a witness. I would call Republican members.
That's interesting.
Of the House of Representatives. I don't know whether you can call Senate members, they're jurors, but call all these people up. Let's have them tell what it was like to be within 30 seconds of being murdered.
Mrs. Pelosi, were you ever in fear for your life?
Right,
Mr. Pence, did you ever fear that someone was going to drag you from the Capitol and
how about
you?
this? How about you, Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jim Jordan of Ohio, Mr. Macho Fuckface, Mr. Tough Guy? Come on, bring it. Let's see. Come on, Matt Gaetz, with your $500 hairdo. What the hell is that? What is that?
What are you going to do? Yeah, Jim Jordan, when these people are coming with guns and they're banging on the door, you're going to put on your singlet and try a double leg takedown? Fuck you. Get out of my face with that. You're absolutely 100% right about that.
All right. So the case is going to be extremely vivid. And the Democrats are, I think, very smart to go forward with this, because once again, you're going to get every Republican on the record denying reality,
including some of the dicks that want to run for president in 4 years. Right. Absolutely.
Right. So what did they do on Tuesday? They went full Mitch McConnell, and Mitch didn't do it. He had his junior partner. He had Robin to his Batman, Rand Paul, the other senator from Kentucky, get up there and pretend that this is a thing, that it is completely unconstitutional to try to impeach a president and convict him after he has left office. This is an outrage. And the vote, and again, this is Mitch McConnell at work. The vote on Tuesday was not, listen closely, it was not, is the impeachment constitutional or unconstitutional? It was not that. But that's not what you read. That's not what you heard, right?
What was it? What was the vote?
It was a procedural vote to discuss yesterday, at the moment, is it constitutional or unconstitutional? Democrats were having none of it, and 5 Republicans had enough integrity to say this is bullshit. Of course it is. And if you want to bring that up, bring it up when the trial occurs. Be like Al Pacino. This whole thing is out of order.
You're out of order. You're out of order.
But yesterday, so I think that was a bad bit of mass media reporting. I think it was bad because it was
right. No,
it was a procedural bullshit roadblock, the kind of thing that Mitch McConnell specializes in. That's what it's all about. And he got the headline that he wanted, with it appearing and it being reported, and I know you heard this, that, 45 people, they're never going to be able to get to 17. Obviously, all 45. And even now a guy who wants to go out emeritus as one of the worst suck-up sycophants, masquerading as a centrist and a guy who just wants to do good for the people, Rob Portman, the soon-to-be ex-senator from Ohio at the end of 2022. He's not
Possibly
running.
be replaced by Jim Jordan.
Well, don't worry about that. That's not the issue right now.
He wants the job.
I understand. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. You don't just get a job.
No, you do. You just have to.
And he's not. Remember, Ohio elects Sherrod Brown every 6 years.
True.
He is a lefty. Jim Jordan is a fuckface. Just because he can win a gerrymandered congressional district, that does not translate
That's
into the
the
whole
chasm
state.
between Northern Ohio and Southern Ohio. Northern Ohio gets Sherrod Brown. Southern Ohio gets Jim Jordan. That's how that works.
That's right. That's like thinking, well, Mark Meadows was winning big margins when he was running for Congress over there. He could run for governor.
Yeah.
That's right. So anyway, back to who was it I was just talking about?
Rand Paul. You're talking about Rand Paul, and you were talking about, and then you were talking about Rob Portman.
Rob Portman, the senator. So he's not running anymore. So he's not subject to the voters. He doesn't have to be afraid to do the right thing, and he knows the right thing. And what does he do? He votes with the 45.
Yeah,
the
fearful 45.
One of his last chances to make a statement and say, yeah, Trumpism should not be the future of this party, and he should not be allowed to run again, and we need to convict him and then vote to say he should never hold public office again. Now, his defense is that he understood what I just said before, that this wasn't a vote about the constitutionality per se. It was about whether to discuss it. So he would tell you he's keeping his powder dry, and he will listen to all the evidence, and he will then render a judgment. That's what Portman is saying. But
do you believe that?
Well, hang on. Pat Toomey, right next door in Pennsylvania, and Penn State and Ohio State, big rivals.
They don't like each other.
But
those are two teams that don't like each other.
They don't. But for this purpose, they're on the same team. Pat Toomey, also Republican senator, also saying, I'm not going to run again in 2022. And what did he do? He voted with the Democrats as one of the 5 who took the principled stand and said, this is a bullshit move by Mitch McConnell through Rand Paul. So these people have complained, and they send out their spokespeople. In the case of Portman, he sends out his campaign manager from 2016 to say, well, the Republican Party is basically a shit show now. If your goal is to just get on Fox News and whine and complain, it's great. But if you want to legislate and be a serious, this is no place to be. So he's kind of making an excuse for Portman to not run in 2022 because he just can't get anything done. Well, why can't the Republicans get anything done, Rob? You're part of the party. Here's the answer. Leave the Republican Party, become a Democrat. Stop. We can reform the party. It's dead. It's over. They're the Whigs. Okay.
Look,
they are.
If I go to your house and I take a dump in the middle of the living room and I go, Brad, I just can't come over to your house anymore because it smells awful. I mean, Jesus, that's essentially what Rob Portman is doing. I mean, that's essentially that we blew the thing up and damn, this place is a mess. I got to get out of here. What the hell happened? I mean, that's essentially what the guy is saying.
I agree.
Now, if we go, I want to go back to a couple of things because we started off with that clip from Fox and Friends. How much are you enjoying the new comedy stylings of Joe Biden and Peter Ducey? How much are you enjoying that comedy team right now?
I think Ducey wants to become Sam Donaldson to Joe Biden's Ronald Reagan.
They really are honestly
he wants that gig where Biden calls on him every time. He doesn't have to.
He does.
And Ducey asks an obnoxious but very often sort of fair question, and Biden just sloughs it off and keeps walking. Kind of thing. Right?
It's the greatest thing. Here's my prediction on that is that Proud Papa Stephen Ducey is going to end up embracing Joe Biden and thanking him for how well he treated his son. And he's going to get death threats. He's going to get a dead bird left on his windshield in the morning or some shit like that. But eventually he's going to like stand arm in arm. He's going to thank Joe Biden for treating his son fairly and being a good guy. That's what's going to eventually happen, which will, of course, will mark Stephen Ducey basically for death. I think, right, among that audience right now, right?
Again, as it should. Right.
So you need to tell the My Pillow on QVC story.
Well, because there's more and more garbage coming from the whiny now officially Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy who's banished from Twitter, and a bunch of stores have said we're not selling the My Pillow thing anymore. And I mean, he's just claiming all kinds of plots and all kinds of shit has been behind the scenes to try to ruin his life. Let's see. He says that Twitter was secretly posting tweets in his name.
Yes.
What is that about?
Yes, they hacked. They got his account and they started acting like they were him, and then tweeting out crazy shit. But it really wasn't him.
Right. Well, like you need to hack My Pillow Guy's account to make My Pillow Guy look crazy. Like
not to dig too deeply on it, but the stuff that he was tweeting matches up perfectly with the words that were coming out of his mouth into microphones across America.
Yeah,
there was really no difference between those two things.
So here's the story. Apparently, My Pillow Guy. I mean, I think most people know already his history before he became My Pillow Guy. I mean, he had drug problems. He was homeless, the whole thing. And then somehow he had this idea for this product. And in one sense, he did the American Dream thing. Now, of course, that's not good enough, though. He decided the American Dream thing wasn't good enough and became politically active and got a meeting somehow, almost accidentally, with Trump. And the rest is history. So he becomes one of the lead Trump sycophants. But apparently he's just a complete whack job. Now, here's how wacky he clearly is, because now that he's being thrown off of a bunch of store shelves, that's really going to start to hit him hard. And I'm sure that the next thing, if he hasn't started to say it yet, is, I employ X number of 100 people, and they're going to be responsible for throwing all these people out of work through cancel culture, right? You know what's going to happen.
Cancel culture.
Because I can't, right. But my brother, who works for a company that does a lot of business with QVC, you see the products all the time. I won't name it, but they're very famous. You use them every night, probably when you go to sleep. You cover yourself up with them, things like, okay. It's a big company. They sell well. And he told me that Mike Lindell, My Pillow Guy, got kicked off a band from QVC a while ago because he was such a jerk. He was such a jerk in the hallways, in the way he was treating all the people who work there. Now I watch QVC, you see it. Those people, most of them appear to be fairly pleasant. And it looks like it's pretty it's a well-oiled machine, as you know.
They have any number of B-level or C-level celebrities who must be complete dicks backstage, and he must have really exceeded expectations.
Exactly. Because, Rule A for a shopping channel, QVC, and Home Shopping Network, now owned by it's the one thing now, is, we'll just about sell anything if it's legal, and we can sell, 9,000 of them in 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to say no to what apparently has been a very popular, you must be a first-class, over-the-top dick.
Sure. Just
a complete asshole for them to say you are personally so bad that we don't want to sell your product. Because there's a lot of in between there. They could say, we'll sell your product, but you're not allowed within 500 miles of the studio in Florida or wherever it is.
Yeah.
But no, they just said no. So I say good for them. And clearly they were forerunners. They understood a long time ago, because this has been a while since this happened, which is why you've never seen or haven't seen the My Pillow guy on that, which, by the way, that would be a natural thing. You would think that would be, and it would be.
I used to see like Joan Rivers when she was alive, obviously was on that. She would be pitching some shit. And then that Rhonda Shear chick is on there with her Spanx kind of stuff. John Tesh used to go on there and do his CDs and shit like that. And, you know, it just takes a modicum of niceness to just kind of exist there. But they're like, fuck you. You're such a dick. You can't even come back. I think that's fantastic. That's a wonderful story.
Yeah. And it's part of the pastiche of victimhood, though.
It is.
That's what it's going to be all about. But then there is always the possibility he could go to work for the office of the former president.
It's possible. There's always that.
Big openings there.
Such a fake story. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Brad, we need to talk about her under the I'm shocked category. Apparently, she endorsed the execution of several high-level government folks. This is according to a CNN review of her Facebook activity. Color me shocked. Miss Greene filled her feed with extremist content for years before she was elected in November, becoming the first open supporter of this QAnon bullshit to win a seat at Congress. In a January 2019 post, Greene liked a comment advocating a bullet to the head of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, according to a screenshot published by CNN's K-File. And there's also some video now of her screaming at
David Hogg.
David Hogg, the Parkland survivor who saw many of his friends murdered in front of his eyes at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School just a few years ago. She is screaming certain things at him and trying to disparage him publicly, Brad.
I think she hashtag Little Hitler.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she called him Little Hitler.
That's fantastic. Now, I'm not sure. Is the criticism of David Hogg that he is financed by George Soros? Is he one of those that is also receiving like a complete stream of money from George Soros? Or
I'm really sincere about this. I don't even want to discuss whether I want to discuss the fact that the Republican Party has a member who is her. Okay. Yeah. You have to answer, all of you. They should all be asked every time, every minute. What do you think of Marjorie Taylor Greene? She believes in the QAnon conspiracies. She thinks that Donald Trump is a superhero that is going to be launched back into the presidency by magical powers in order to defeat the evil, cannibal, child molesting and kidnapping cabal that is led by Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama. Do you believe that? And why does the Republican Party seat her? Why is she a member of your coalition? Why is that? Doesn't that make people think that there's something wrong? You know, there are a million ways to ask that question better than I just posed.
What exactly would it be that would make you denounce this person and say that they're not fit for a seat in the United States Congress? What would she have to pose? I mean, exactly. I know Kathy Griffin did the worst thing ever in the history of the world, but again, we never elected her to Congress, did we?
Yeah,
I'm sure that's cancel culture.
But wait, but if you go further down the page, well, the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy, you know what he said? He says, I'm going to have a conversation with her.
Well, that'll do it. Now, I'm completely satisfied.
So it's the old, we're gonna
let's open up a
dialogue.
Have
a conversation about it.
Marjorie, what is it that's upsetting you? Yeah. Is that what we're going to do? We're going to have and then, again, these are the same people that are like, oh yeah, that's what we need to do with people who are criminals. We need to get them a psychiatrist or a psychologist and let them talk it out. In another post from April of 2018, a commenter asked, do we get to hang them? ? Referring to former President Barack Obama and former Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, K-File reported. In response, Ms. Greene did not denounce the suggestion of execution. Instead, she wrote, stage is being set. Players are being put in place. We must be patient. This must be done perfectly or liberal judges would let them off.
Well, now, what's the date on this stuff?
April of 2018, Brad. Less than 3 years ago.
Oh, well, you know what? Then that's not fair because, she was just
it's a different world now.
She was just a regular citizen. She wasn't in Congress.
That's right.
And as we know now, in the world of Republican anything, there are lots of bright red lines before and after. For instance, Donald Trump should not be able to be impeached because he's, well, no longer the president, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene could spout all kinds of hateful, threatening, white supremacist Nazi shit in 2018. She wasn't a member of Congress yet, so you cannot hold anything that she said back then. And I'll just do a blanket whataboutism on that and say 2 words: Reverend Wright. Okay,
there you go. That's right. If Barack Obama at any point passed by a statue of
it was 2 words. Don't have to explain it. Don't have to explain it. It's just Reverend Wright. That's all you need to do.
On Twitter, Ms. Green characterized the K-File report as a hit piece on me, focused on my time before running for political office, but she did not dispute the authenticity of the post to highlight it. Instead, she wrote she has teams of people, Brad, managing her pages. Many posts have been liked, she said. Many posts have been shared. Some did not represent my views, especially the ones that CNN is
some.
Well, again, I'm almost positive that people who did this and misrepresented, I'm sure you've dealt with them very harshly. Perhaps you hanged them, especially the ones CNN is about to spread across the internet. They're taking old Facebook posts from random users to try to cancel me and to silence my voice, Brett. She is the victim in this. This woman is the victim in this entire situation. And can't you see this?
Of course I can see it. Of course I can see it. When is it going to stop?
A lot of people have brought this up and they think, well, okay, what we have now with this Republican Party and this woman being elected and some of the idiots like Rand Paul and such, who obviously was in office before Donald Trump was elected president, this is part of the radicalization that Donald Trump brought to the Republican Party, which is no longer the Republican Party that anybody would be able to recognize even from 30 years ago. The other argument is, no. Donald Trump was a symptom of the radicalization of the Republican Party itself. It wasn't he that did them. They did him. They created this thing and allowed him to be what he was. Because Donald Trump, as you know, he wasn't this firebrand. He was always a racist for sure. But at certain points in his life during the 80s and 90s, he was fairly liberal on any number of issues. But he saw the light in terms of being a complete dick, getting elected and getting to fly around in Air Force One. So he became, a baby protecting all this other horseshit stuff to these people. So which do you think is the truth? Do you think it's the Republican Party, that Donald Trump was a symptom of the Republican Party, or was it Donald Trump's radicalization of the party itself is the issue here?
I don't think you have to pick one or the other. They kind of go in lockstep, and Trump becomes this ultimate manifestation of every bad tendency, every bad thought, every cheap, easy compromise on decency and upholding basic values that, remember, 16 or 17 Republicans ran in the primary against him in 2015, 2016. And at that point, and we know all the reasons that Trump was getting more attention and getting his rallies shown when no one else could get 1 minute on TV. He got 99% of the coverage during the critical time leading up to, early fall of 2015, and then by February you have the primaries, and it was already locked up. And we know the reasons that he got all that coverage is because he drew eyeballs, he drew ratings for them. But the fact of the matter is that one by one, they all fell in line and made what for them was going to be a temporary compromise. That yes, we hate Donald Trump. He sucks. We know he's a moron. We know he doesn't know anything, but he knows TV, he knows box office, he knows showmanship, and he's got people following him, and he's all we've got. He's going to win the primaries. We're going to get on board. We are the Republican Party, and we're going to, except for a couple of people who said, I don't think so. I'm not aboard with Bob Corker of Tennessee left pretty early. Jeff Flake of Arizona was never a Trumper, and they left fairly early in Trump's term. But the rest of them, every one of them, especially, and we don't have to play the clips. You've already seen a million times what Ted Cruz and what Lindsey Graham were saying about Trump in 2015, including the famous Lindsey Graham clip of saying, if we nominate Donald Trump, this is going to be the end of the Republican Party. It will destroy us. We will be destroyed. Well, he was early, but he was right. And he knew, they all knew, and they all went along with it because they were willing to make the transactional deal to get right-wing, young, Federalist Society approved judges to crack down on immigration, which they all were really for. He was just expressing what they've been thinking forever in this area. Although there was a time when the Republican Party was not that way. And if you go back to Reagan and you go back to George W. Bush, remember George W. Bush wanted to make it, and he got killed for it. He got murdered when he tried to let up on immigration at any level and strike some kind of a deal. They just killed him for it. So Trump read the room and said, no, that's not what Republicans want. And so we
hate brown people. We can't stand brown people. Brown people suck.
Right.
And
so
I assume some of them are good people.
They went along all the way for the ride. They excused everything, and we know the list. Everything along the way. There was nothing that Donald Trump could do. And when he made the comment about I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose any support, ha, ha, ha. Boy, it was hilarious then. And we get all the way to today. And what happens? Donald Trump, in the last 2 weeks of being in office, launches an attack, an insurrection, a revolution against the very government for which he was still president of. There is no doubt about it. The words are there. The actions are there. The matching up of people in the crowd with what Trump was saying on stage is there. There's no argument there.
No.
Right. And to get to this point and then have 45 Republicans vote to make the ridiculous, pointless, and I don't give a shit what that fuckface Jonathan Turley, what a goddamn piece of shit law professor he is. You know what? He is that guy. He is the collaborator.
Jonathan Turley, who missed it, he had a little conference with the Senate Republicans to tell him how unconstitutional it would be to impeach someone who's not in office.
Right.
He had a little private lunch. They had some Caesar salad. They sipped on some Diet Coke.
Number one, he knows he's wrong. And number two, he argued exactly the opposite of that. A year ago, he argued exactly the opposite of that. And so he's the one source they're all going to say, well, Turley says it's on. In the meantime, it's like climate change. We find one idiot who says, well, the earth is not warming. And if it is, it's not due to men. Okay.
Well, there's controversy. I mean, there's both sides.
Let's have both sides on it. And
sure.
There is no controversy about that. And I don't know that much about the founding fathers. I didn't know them personally, but I do know that they were smart enough to have the foresight to know, and they could tell time. There was such a thing as time back then. They were aware of the fact that at the end of a presidential term, you could still hold someone to account, and you could vote to make sure that they could never hold high public office again. And the idea that a president in particular could launch a revolution so close to the end of his term in office, and because the clock runs out on his term, he gets to go scot-free, is, the fountain. And for originalists who adhere to the Constitution word for word, show me in the Constitution where it says if you can get away with it and get out of office in time.
But then you get arguments from Marco Rubio and Rand Paul and folks like that. Like, well, if he's guilty of doing this, then you need to prosecute him through the courts. And you know that if the Department of Justice brought charges against him, oh my God, this is the most politically motivated. This is not what the Department of Justice needs to be doing. These would be the same fuckers that would say that stuff.
Of course, you're you're only about 50% right. I double what you said. They would say that faster than you could get it out of your mouth. And it's so clear that impeachment and then banishment from office is exactly the kind of punishment that the founding fathers envisioned. Yes, the founding fathers didn't sit around and go, boy, if we could just figure out a way to throw a president in jail. They didn't say that. They put impeachment in there as a warning.
Right. Well, here's the other disingenuous argument that the Rand Pauls and the marker. What about the ballot box? The voters can, and meanwhile they try to pare down and make sure that they can exclude as many people as possible from making it to the ballot box.
Wait, it's worse than that, because a year ago, at Trump's first impeachment, I can't believe I'm even saying that, at Trump's first impeachment.
But it's true. 50% of the impeachments, he owns them.
Remember what one of the number one first line defenses of Trump was: that this is not the place to decide whatever he may have done or didn't do with the president of Ukraine and the other impeachment articles. This is not the place to decide that. The place for that to be decided is at the ballot box in less than a year. Remember that? We'll let the voters decide.
We'll try to game that thing and make sure that the people who don't want to vote.
Wait, you tried to game it, and the voters still decided.
That's correct.
And now you can't say that the voters didn't have their say. And instead of Trump just accepting the verdict of the voters, the jury was that Donald Trump should not get a second term. So he spent every day since November 3rd lying and plotting and scheming and stoking and giving aid and comfort to people all over this country who have been contacting each other and plotting and planning. And there it was. I mean, those tweets and those recordings of people in real time at the Capitol talking to each other. I mean, that sounds like, I mean, it's not a great military operation. It's not it's not like going after bin Laden. It's not like clockwork, but it was organized. They knew they needed to talk to somebody somewhere. They needed to talk to other people to coordinate what they were doing. That sounds like a conspiracy to me. A real conspiracy, not a made-up one. They were conspiring to overthrow the federal government and decapitate members of the Congress and the vice president, and maybe family members. Let me pose another version of a question I asked yesterday. What if the wife or child of a member of Congress were kidnapped or killed? Do you think that would change the vote?
Well, no, because Republicans don't care about the children that are outside of the womb.
But these are their own children, their own children. Because they're all saying now, I'm getting threatened. I have to vote with Trump, or I'm.
No, it would have been a huge disaster. Things and by the way, I don't think we realize, and that's why we need to have this trial, how close we were to having 2, 4, 6, 20 members of Congress dead. I mean, we were probably a lot closer to that than we think.
Well, you know what the answer to that is going to be, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I swear they're going to say that. Of
course, that's what they're going to
say that.
And speaking of huge assholes, how sad do you feel for former Major League Baseball pitcher Curt Schilling, who once again did not make it into the Hall of Fame? Brad, he says he wants his name off the ballot. The Baseball Writers of America are encouraging him to keep his name on that ballot. Do you think that one day huge asshole and right-wing dickhead Curt Schilling will make it to Cooperstown?
He probably won't. He probably won't. But I have an idea. And this is not a new idea. It's just an adoption of another idea that's been used in other places, which is there needs to be a right-wing baseball Hall of Fame.
Right-wing baseball.
Right-wing. So that would encompass all the people who've cheated and not played by the rules, not played fairly. And by the way, you're allowed to get people out of the regular Hall of Fame.
Ty Cobb
Probably shouldn't be in there in the first. But this is going to be a home for Pete Rose. It's kind of like going on Fox all the time. You can go there. It doesn't matter how crazy you are. Say what you want. You can be you can be Kurt Schilling. You can be Barry Bonds.
Right.
You can be those guys. You can be the steroid guys.
Ty Cobb, I think, would be the classic guy. He would be the one. Although I don't believe, I still say he wasn't quite the racist that was portrayed in that movie, but he was just enough of one that he should go into the right wing asshole Hall of Fame for sure.
Right. So
he's your Hall of Fame guy.
Right. And that's like among doctors, there are a couple of splinter organizations outside of the mainstream. The AMA is the mainstream, and then there's this something I think called the Association of Surgeons or something, and it's all right-wing doctors.
Oh, fantastic!
It's all right-wing doctors who go against the orthodoxy, and they want to be told what to do, and so that's my solution for Kurt Schilling, who he does have the best record in the World Series, right? The best postseason record ever.
Whatever.
I think he's like 11-2.
He can,
so based on the numbers, he would have gotten in if he was anything close to normal.
For those of you that are watching, I've got a number. It's 1. There you go. That's the number I have for Kurt Schilling.
All right.
That's it for us.